What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. Tammy Talks here. Let's get into Ready to Love Season 4, Episode 10, True Colors. If you are brand new to my channel, I do breakdowns of TV shows, kind of scene by scene, recapping what happened, and then interjecting my own opinions, thoughts, commentary about the episode. So if you enjoy that type of content, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, thumbs up the video on your way in or your way out, whichever works best for you to show some support. And as always, hop down into the comment section because it always goes down in the comment section. All right, y'all, so let's get right into it. This episode starts off where the last one left with Camille talking to Cornelius. And she's crying, eyes red, tears streaming, the theatrics of it all. So she kind of lets him know that the other women don't feel like he has been making connections with them, and the other women feel that he's not ready to love. Cornelius is surprised. And I'm thinking, why would you be surprised? You don't talk to any of these other women. You can't possibly be surprised right now. So that really kind of pissed me off about Cornelius, because are you that aloof? Come on now. You know that you have not been paying these other women any attention. So why would you be surprised that they're voting you into the bottom? Come on, Cornelius. So then Camille Jen says that she will be leaving the process as well because he has been her only connection. Did y'all notice the flicker of, oh shit, that went through Cornelius' face? So it went from him, initially he was kind of at peace with all right, I guess I'll be going home. But then when she said that she was going home too, it was kind of like, oh damn, type of situation. Which I thought was funny because I don't know if Camille is not picking up on his reactions to things or if she's just cool with ignoring it. But that was funny. So Cornelius does mention that he does regret not making any other connections with any of the other women because he's not entirely sure about Camille. And I think that has been his biggest downfall of this entire situation. So at least with Camille, on Camille's side, she is sure about you. She's talking house and marriage and kids, and Cornelius is always like, oh, we'll see. And my thing is Cornelius, you squandered your opportunity on this show because you allowed Camille to dictate how this would go for you. So, but I mean, best wishes to them both. So then we have Zadia telling Naim that he is still ready for love, and that's because they are each other's only connection right now. So then Shiloh and Phil, they're in the kitchen. Looks like she's cooking. He helps her pull something out of the oven. They decide to play a love languages game. During the game, Shiloh tells Phil that he could be more direct with her. She wants more gestures. She wants him to show more action. Actually show me that you like me. Don't just sweet talk me and smooth talk me and kind of tell me like that. And she lets him know that he is her strongest connection. And he doesn't really respond to that. He basically talks in circles about how he's still not ready to commit. And what I'm getting from this is Phil's not ready. Phil is not ready to commit because my thing is you have these women. Phil is juggling. I feel like he's been on a date with everybody. But Phil has all these women, and he'll say he has these connections with them, but then he'll pull back and then want to go and have a connection with someone else, and then pull back and then want to go date someone else. And yes, that's what you're supposed to do. But my whole thing is at this point in the game, Phil, pick one woman that is at the top for you right now and pursue her. Get to know her, because how much longer do you think these women are going to be okay with constantly being kind of on the outs and not knowing where they stand? And Shiloh has been very direct with him. She is over it. Shiloh is not for the bug. So then we have Dante and Aisha. I don't know why I made that face for them. Because I actually I like them together. I like both of them. So they talk about how Aisha reacted to Zadia and the whole dinner table situation. Aisha said it kind of set her off because she has come into this process, and she has always been very positive, and so she doesn't understand why Zadia kept pushing her and pushing her and pushing her. And I actually want to make a video that will be one of my next videos, kind of talking about what really happened with them. Was Zadia overwhelmed by the process, or was she truly that threatened by Aisha? It was weird because wouldn't Aisha be in the Browns Girl Squad? So I didn't quite understand that. And then Dante kind of tells her, "Girl, we ain't worried about that. Forget about it. Let's reel it back in." And then the two of them are each other's strongest connections, and they basically decide without saying it, but to be exclusive with one another. So then we have Frank and Mumen. Mumen says she's zoning in on Frank, mainly because it's not working with Walter. Her and Walter got into it. Her and Walter got into it last week because she felt that he was like she feels that Sabrina is kind of manipulating Walter in a way that he's not opening himself up to her anymore. So while they're on this date, they're walking down the National Mall by the reflecting pool in DC. He gives her a golf ball from when they went to play miniature golf. And he said that he kept the ball from that day. He wrote the date on there, and that is considered their first date. And she says she likes that he is being thoughtful. That's something that no one else in the process has done for her so far. So little gestures like that are, things that for a lot of women, the smallest gestures like that is their love language in a way that they don't necessarily say it. So but he still lets her know that Sydney is in the picture still. So then we have Dante and Zadia, and this blew me. So there wasn't a whole lot to this episode, but the parts that we did get, the parts that we did see were a lot. So Dante and Zadia. Zadia is mad that Aisha now has a connection with Dante, right? So Zadia tells Dante she felt abandoned over the weekend. She didn't feel protected. She didn't feel wanted. She felt blindsided. So she was upset that when the women were at their round table to send someone home, that Aisha brought up that Dante had his massage table and gave her a massage. She felt like she was low-key pissed about that. And then she said that Dante has been ignoring her because he's been too busy planning cooking dates and massages with Aisha. Am I the only one that remembers when the episodes when the retreat started and Dante went into Aisha's room, not Aisha, went into Zadia's room and was talking to her? She was kind of snippy. He asked her something, and I remember her being like, I don't know, the rooms are on the other side of the house. She never turned to acknowledge him. She never turned to actually face him. She never turned to do any of that. So my thing is, Zadia, you set the tone for that episode, for that weekend. Now, y'all, let me know if I'm wrong or if I missed something, but that was the vibe that I got. You didn't you set the tone for how he went that weekend. So he ended up rocking with Aisha. So Dante said that she was talking to him as if she had already made her choice. So he said the way that he went into the weekend, the way she was acting, he felt that she had already made her choice because she was kind of getting more coupled up, more booed up with Naim. So then Zadia gets mad and says that she was going to pick him. No, before that. So she asked Dante, are you making your choice? Dante says, yes, I have a connection with Aisha. She gets mad and was like, well, you can have fun with Aisha and have long talks about nothing with her. And then she gets up and walks off. And I'm like, why do you have to shade Aisha? That makes no sense to me. We haven't seen any of the women be catty, but when it comes to Zadia, she really does not like Aisha. And I think it's because Aisha doesn't bow down to her, and Aisha is not afraid to say other stuff back to Zadia. Zadia's been saying slick shit in a lot of the women roundtable conversations, and a lot of the other women would just say stuff in their confessionals or just kind of under their breath. And Aisha would come back at her and be like, say it with your chest, girl. So I think that's the issue. So Dante said, well, I don't already order my food. So Dante is sitting down. He's still eating, enjoying himself. And then Zadia comes back. So Zadia comes back and gets in his face, y'all. Gets in his face. I'm a huge proponent for keep your damn hands to yourself. That goes for men and that goes for women. Just like men should not be hitting on women, women should not be reaching out and touching men or poking them in their face or doing any of the sort either. So Zadia gets in his face and said that, she was going to pick him going into that weekend. She called him a fraud, called him fake, said that if he wants to be with Aisha, that's fine, but she's dense and she's dumb. And I'm like, wow. The insecurity of it all. I could not believe the way Zadia was acting. And here's my thing. Zadia showed her true face the entire weekend. You sat there and argued in front of all them men with another woman about something stupid. And Zadia can say that people were taking Aisha's side, but when you look at how that conversation went, Zadia, you were poking her, you were pressing her, you were antagonizing her. It's not that anybody was taking Aisha's side, it's that Aisha was in the right in that situation and you were more clearly in the wrong. So she leaves, good riddance. So then we have a date with Walter and Sabrina. Sabrina feels that Walter chose her by default. She said that she went for a while without hearing from Walter. She knows that he was talking to Mumen. Now all of a sudden, he is her number one. So she's kind of looking at him, kind of sideways because I don't want to be the woman that you chose by default. I want to be the woman that I was your first choice, and that's just how it was. So I don't know. Something about Sabrina is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs with me. We have Phil and Sydney. Sydney comes out and asks Phil about Shiloh. He said that the connection is strong, but there are still bumps in the road. And I didn't like that he said that because I don't think, from what we can see at least, there haven't been any bumps in the road. Shiloh wants you to open up. Shiloh wants you to be an adult and have the hard conversations, and you just don't want to do that. So then he asked her about Frank. And she said that she wants her and Phil to get to the point that her and Frank are. So Sydney and Frank have a connection because she knows him from the nightlife. They have immediately vibed with one another. So Phil tells her he wants to get deep with her. He wants to, tell her more about himself. And he opens up by saying that he regrets not giving his mother grandkids before she passed away. Because, every parent wants to become a grandparent, etc., etc. And that was one of the things that he really regrets. He said his mom was his best friend. His mother died 4 years ago. So he lets Sydney know that he is definitely feeling her. And she said, well, actions are going to speak louder than words. And whenever someone says that about Phil, he always kind of looks down and looks away. And it's like, oh man. It's like, grow up, Phil. If you like her, let her know. And they end up They end up kissing. So I guess for me, if I'm Shiloh, girl, be on guard. Because Sydney is coming right in and she's about to swoop Phil right from underneath you. So the dates are all done for the week. We have the men there in a new lounge, has a bunch of champagne bottles around. Nice. So Tommy asks what's going on and how everything is going. They immediately, like some little kindergarten boys, tell Tommy that the girls were fighting and arguing at the retreat. So they talk about how Camille, Aisha, and Zadia. Frank, who clearly does not like Zadia, brings up the brown girl squad. Tommy immediately was like, so if you're light skinned, I'm like, I don't think it's a colorist issue. Y'all love to scream colorism on every single reality show, every single show that you can. I don't think this is colorism. I just think it was a childish name. And anytime Frank would, or any of the men would be like, yeah, and turn into this situation with this, and Zadia would say, Naim would come in right away. No, Zadia's fine. She didn't do that. I feel like she was just defending herself. And I'm like, we get it, Naim. That's your only connection, sweetheart. But you got to call a spade when you can. Zadia was wrong in this situation. So Walter said that his strongest connection right now is with Sabrina. She mentioned that she was a stripper once before, and he's learning that this is kind of a take me as I am type situation. Dante mentions his strongest connection being Aisha. Naim said Zadia. Frank says Mumen and Sydney. And then Phil says Shiloh and Sydney. And when both Phil and Frank were talking about Sydney, they both were kind of looking like real haterish. Real haterish the entire time. So Dante, when it comes down to talking about the weakest connection right now in the house, Dante brings up how Zadia behaved at their date. Said that Zadia got in his face, was poking him in the nose, the way she was talking to him, fire dancing in her eyes, all this other stuff. Now, so Tommy was like, okay, like that's not cool because that's a red flag. So he asked Naim, how do you feel about this? Like this, sway you from Zadia? And Naim said that means nothing to him because she treats him just fine. And I think that's a bigger issue that people have, where if somebody can be trash, somebody has a way of dealing with people that's not cool, that can be deemed as aggressive or disrespectful, but because they don't do it to you, then it's okay. And I feel like that's a big issue and a big problem where a lot of people see that as not an issue for them because it doesn't affect them. But we really find out, or we really know, Naim doesn't care about that because he doesn't want Zadia to leave because that's all he has right now. Frank, again, who does not like Zadia, chimed in and said that this is a pattern with her, y'all. Frank said it right away. Anytime somebody mentioned something with Zadia, he was rolling his eyes. She has disgusted Frank with how she behaved at the retreat or at the weekend. So Naim said that he knows that she's a good person at heart. And then admits in a confessional that she is his only connection. And Tommy was like, that's a bit of a red flag. You know what I mean? You don't, because that's showing, and I mean, some people can say that it's going too far, but that's showing aggression. It's showing that she can be a certain type of way that you may want to steer a little clear of. So they get down to it and they talk about which women need to go home. So now we have Walter going on a date with Mumen. Mumen came in hot and heavy, y'all. Hot and heavy. She came in and said she was ready to tell him that they are done. It don't matter who he's connecting with. He ain't even got to tell her because she's done. So they get into Frank, Walter being upset that when they were sitting outside talking by the pool, when she said she felt that he was pulling away, the fact that he said that he wanted to sit so they could have a conversation and hash things out. The fact that she got up and walked away, he didn't like that. That was a red flag. She said, I'm going to call a spade a spade. You were acting funny with me all weekend. So she brings up, or he actually brings up how she was mugging him in the piano room. And she said no. She said, when I came in, you were acting like you couldn't even look at me. You couldn't acknowledge me. You couldn't talk to me because you were by Sabrina. And she was like, to me, that was disrespectful. That was foul, whatever the case. Walter said he felt like that was a setup. He said he felt like that was a setup. So she was just kind of like, well, that was kind of foul on your behalf because you could have talked to me. But nonetheless, they hash out whatever differences they have. He tells her that, you were at the bottom, but because the men know that you have such a strong connection with Frank, that we are going to keep you are still ready to love. Which I think is kind of effed up because y'all know that y'all know that Frank has two people. But I guess that's really trying to run interference for Frank to be with Mumen and Phil to get Sydney, and then everybody else is just out. That's how it came across to me. But back on the other side of town, we have Phil and Zadia. And Zadia said that she was on high alert when it came to the date. She came in unwilling to acknowledge whatever part she might have played in the fact of why Dante was like leaning towards Aisha. So she said that Dante was a coward because he didn't tell her where she stood. And I'm like, but he did. So the point of the weekend though is for them to get up there and kind of figure out who they're going to start matching up with, right? But I guess Zadia felt that Dante owed it to her to tell her that there might be someone else in the process. I didn't understand what Zadia was like low key trying to demand from Dante. I didn't get that. So she said that she wishes her communication would have been better in that situation with Dante at dinner. But she gets sent home. She gets sent home, and before like Phil can even say it, she blurts it out, and it's like, "Cause I know that's where y'all are going," and she just kind of is like she's cool with it because it just wasn't meant to be, whatever the case. And it's like, Zadia, your attitude, like Zadia did this to herself. We saw her have a nasty attitude more often than not throughout this entire process. So then we see Naim meeting up with Tommy, trying to figure out what he should do because Zadia was his only connection. So he's at the point where it's like, my only connection is gone. I don't want to waste anybody's time. And Tommy kind of lets him know, like, look, check it, my guy. You ended up being her strongest connection because Dante removed himself. So you were really her second choice. Think about that. You don't want to settle for being someone's second choice. So, like, kind of being like, put yourself first. So Naim does admit that he does see Zadia's red flags. He's not blind to it. He does see it, and he then decides to leave the process. And that's where we are. Here's my thing. These people act like they are just so devastated that they are leaving. Here's the thing, Naim. Zadia is off the process. Y'all are just off the show. You can still call her. Y'all can still talk. Y'all can still date. Nonetheless, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead, thumbs up the video. Let me know that in the comments, y'all. What was going on with Zadia? Did we miss these red flags the entire time? Do you think Dante did anything wrong with how he handled her? Do you think, in regards to Walter and Mumen, do you think that Mumen is in the right, or do you think Walter is right? And I will check you guys in the next one.